Sad news today, my friends. I have a very long, sad story about how I just killed one of these two orchids and it is on its way out. So, I saw these Nellie Eilers in Fred Meyer a couple weeks ago. I took them home. They were only $9 a piece, which is crazy. You can only get them for like $30 shipping included online, and that's if you're lucky. So I really got a good deal, and I bought both of them because just in case I killed one, and I have not yet actually killed an orchid since I knew how to take care of them, but I killed this one, and it's really sad. What happened was, I got these orchids in the store, and the stores never tend to put plants in potting mixes that will work in your home environment. So I decided to repot these flowers even though they were still in bloom because I didn't want to risk damaging the root system and losing the plant because that's really bad. Additionally, I thought that these lumps on the leaves were a scale insect infestation, but it turns out that they're much more likely to be blisters on the plant, which you can Google yourself, blisters on orchid leaves. So I had good intentions in repotting them. I went and I bought a potting mix that you may have seen my video was garbage, but I picked out bark chips from it. I tried to make the best of it. I mixed them up in charcoal. I mixed a little sphagnum moss. I potted all my orchids very well in that mix. Then the next thing that happened is that the potting mix, after I watered it one time, got moldy. It just got moldy within 3 days of potting my plants, which is a nightmare. I had to take them out of the mix because I didn't know when I was going to get another mix again. And I went the next day to the store to buy another potting mix. The second I got that potting mix home, I opened it, I was ready to repot, and it was full of flies. It was infested with insects. I finally said, screw it, I will go order a nice potting mix off the internet. I will spend 20 bucks getting it to me, and I will get the proper potting mix for my orchids because store-bought mixes are bad luck. Well, it was supposed to arrive Friday or Saturday. It's now Monday, and it's not here. So I have, in the meantime, packed my plants in sphagnum moss, dry sphagnum moss, because I didn't want the roots to die. I didn't want them to just hang out bare root for an indefinite amount of time because that's probably not so good for them. And as you can see, this orchid had 2 flower spikes coming off of it. Maybe you can't see. I just cut the other spike off this orchid last night because I didn't want to keep taking energy out of this pseudobulb. The pseudobulb has become very, very wrinkled and dry because it's not been in the proper potting mix, and it was probably getting dehydrated because it was supporting 2 flower spikes. Now, because it was supporting 2 flower spikes is why it got so small, and that is the reason that I took these out of their sphagnum moss and I put them in little shallow cups of water, maybe up to here, just enough to cover the roots and just enough to get them wet. Well, guess what happened? If you get even one little bit of water into the leaves, you can actually kill the orchid quickly. I killed the new growth, which was here. I just pulled it off and it was complete mush. And this is the new growth. I have pulled it apart because I was curious and because it was completely rotten and dead anyway. It pulled apart like wet paper, which is really pretty sad. But this plant was perfectly healthy yesterday, aside from this shriveled bulb. Today, after I watered it yesterday, within 24 hours, this rot has set in on the plant. It has made these leaves go brown, soft, and mushy. And it's set in on the base of the plants, which means that it's going to probably work its way through and kill them. In order to preserve what was left of this plant, I saw this new growth growing on the old plant, which I just showed you. I cut it off because it has a substantial enough root system, and I'm just going to keep it with this Nellie Eiler and hope that it will bloom on its own in a few years too. Until then, I've learned a lesson. I've had really terrible, terrible luck. And I guess the lesson here is to always be stocked up on your own potting mix at all times. One that you trust, one that's good, and be sure that it's going to work for you. So yeah, unfortunately my two beautiful Nellie Eilers is down to one. I'm very sad about that. It just goes to show you can have bad luck, and it goes to show you that rot can set in on a plant and probably kill it within 24 hours if you're not careful. Never ever get water between the pseudobulb and the leaves here. Never get it into the crown, into the center of your Phalaenopsis orchids. These orchids all in nature hang downward on a tree, so they're not evolutionarily adapted to getting water within their leaves. It runs over them and downward and never gets in their cores in a natural setting. So yeah, it's really unfortunate. Thanks for listening to me. Bye.